Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are continuing our deck check-in series with our number 4, and this is Eriette of the Chramed Apple. So we are taking a look at Eriette of the Chramed Apple deck today. This deck is about making full use of her ability to cause your opponents to attack anyone else and her life gain. So this is really kind of focusing on both of her mechanics. I should probably read it. Anyway, 1 in Orzhov, so it's white-black. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. This is similar to Goad, but the important difference is it just says it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, not it has to attack someone else. This means that if it's enchanted, even if you're the only 2 players, Goad, when there's only 2 players, basically just stops working. This keeps working, right? It just means they can't attack you, even if if you're the only 2 players left. Also, there's the other Eriette, Eriette the Beguiler. I did a deck or a budget deck on that relies on the on things being the same mana cost or lower, right? The auras have to be the same or lower mana cost. This doesn't care. This just is if you have an aura on it, can attack you. Stealing things is probably more powerful than this, but this is a lot more flexible just because it doesn't have the CMC requirement. Anyway, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. So again, every turn you are taking people down a little and putting yourself up a little. This is actually a very useful mechanic. I think people generally look for these kind of like big swings where they want to be able to just take people out. It's kind of better to like kind of bring everyone down a little bit and keep yourself alive, right? It keeps you in the game. The purpose of this is to keep you in the game, not to like win, right? You're not going to win off this. Okay, so Eriette of the Chramed Apple again. The deck price was $163.75. So I was originally going to cover this deck last weekend, but ended up doing Modern Horizons 3 bundle opening instead. The deck has been taken apart and removed from Moxfield because I didn't tell my friend, I didn't tell him that I was going to cover it this weekend instead of last weekend. I was supposed to do it last weekend. I even thought I should send him a message and let him know, and then I was like, nah, what's the point? I'm just going to bug him. And then, yeah, of course, he keeps his Moxfield up to date with his decks, so yeah, I should have communicated better there. Yeah, that's my fault. Anyway, there's no link to this deck, but I think it's still worth looking at because we can still see, I do have all the, like, kind of key cards for the strategies are in here, and what I recommend for replacement cards. So I think it's still, like, if you're looking for kind of a map on how something should be built or how this should be built, this is still good for that. Okay, also my son is here. I unfortunately was not able to record it when he was out of the house because I was busy, but yeah. So we are going to try and get this done anyway, but he's showing me, oh here, Mason, I can show them. He's made Final Fantasy 3 books. He's reeling to Final Fantasy 3 right now, so yeah.
Is it the evil?
Yeah, the bad guys. It's the evil guys. Okay, Mason, okay.
Friends,
Yeah, the good guys. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, thank you. Anyway. Alright, here we go. Thoughts on Eriette. So again, this is an Orzhov commander. She is an Aura Matters commander. I kind of like this. I actually don't have an aura or an enchantment deck in real life. I've been meaning to build one forever. I've been sitting on a couple different versions of Zur, but never quite like got into it. So yeah, I think Eriette the Beguiler is the one I'd want to do. I really want to get that budget deck I made actually, but anyway. Okay, so she allows you to protect yourself from opponents' creatures and gain life just by controlling auras, right? So you don't really have to do a whole lot. You can kind of just like play your auras and automatically you're going to be somewhat safe. So enchanted creatures cannot attack you. Life gain mechanic is used as a weapon in this deck. Alright, so in this deck, there's a lot more emphasis on the life gain and using it as like not only gaining life but damaging others, so you're getting kind of a double effect out of it. So this deck focuses heavily on attacks with auras that limit combat options. So again, I already talked about this versus Goad, so yeah. It also gets a double benefit from life gain as well. Another important feature is that it keeps the casting cost low. So almost everything that was in this deck is 2 or 3 casting costs. This allows for more casting and doubles the effectiveness of cost reduction effects. So there is some cost reduction in here, and when you already have very low cost, you're pumping out a whole bunch of stuff. Combat limitations, so limiting people's ability to do combat with you, really. Redemption Arc, enchanted creature has indestructible and is goaded. Again, goad is almost like not as good as her ability, I think, but it does force them to attack. So that's why it's a little... Having both is an option, definitely. Also, for 1 and a white, you can exile target creature. Again, that is 2 and a white. 2 and a black now. Ghoulish Impetus. When enchanted creature has +1/+1, has Death Touch, and is goaded. Okay, adding Death Touch to goad is just like all kinds of mean. I love it. And when enchanted creature dies, return Ghoulish Impetus to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So when the creature dies, this goes to your graveyard and just bounces right back, and you're going to put another creature that will also not be able to attack you, and it will be goaded. So this just kind of like keeps doing another creature over and over. It's really, really useful. Vow of Duty. So enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance and can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. Again, it's the same effect as your planeswalker or as your commander. It's not a planeswalker, it's a commander, but this, if your commander gets taken off the board, this is still there. It's still protecting you essentially, right? It's kind of like a safeguard. Planner's Disruption. Enchant artifact, creature, or planeswalker. So you can keep everything, all of those things from attacking you. Or like even vehicles are not creatures, right? If someone has a vehicle, that could be a big problem for her because the vehicle can be made into a creature and then attack. This you can just put it on the artifact and then yeah, you're all good. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block. Its activated abilities can't be activated. Again, this is a shutdown card, right? This is just to turn off something, basically. And yeah, here you go. Clawing Torment. This is what I was thinking for it. Yeah, okay. Artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, gets -1/-1 and can't block. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. So when this is on, again, this is the one I meant to say would be great for vehicles because it can go on an artifact. And when it's on, it just keeps it from blocking and it keeps it, the owner is going to keep losing 1 life. And that's really 2 life with this commander because they're going to take 1 damage for having another aura on the battlefield and you gain 1 life. So yeah, it really stacks up nicely. Recursion auras, so getting things back is very important too. Nurgle's Rot, enchant creature an opponent controls. So when an enchanted creature dies, return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand. Create a 1/3 black demon creature token named anyway. Basically, when this leaves the battlefield, you're going to make a token and then you're returning it to your hand right away. For 1 black, that's quite good. Fallen Ideal. So, enchanted creature has flying and sacrifice a creature. This creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn, and when it's put into a graveyard from play, returns to hand again. Also, a sack outlet can be pretty mean as well. Anyway. Ghoulish Impetus. Alright, enchanted creature has +1 well, we talked about that one already. Minions return. It returns, instead of the enchantment still does go to the graveyard, the creature comes back to the battlefield under your control. So you can really abuse this quite a bit. Gift of Immortality. So when an enchanted creature dies, return that to the battlefield under its owner's control, and then return Gift of Immortality to that creature. Right? So it's going to die, it immediately comes back, and then the enchantment goes back onto it at the end of that turn. So you kind of have to kill it twice in one turn for it to actually stay down. All of these also, they're 2 and a color or just a color, right? Life gain synergy. Revenge of the Ravens. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, that creature's controller loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Going with a 1 life loss, 1 life gain again. This is not like you're not going to win the game off of this. It's going to keep you in the game and it's going to discourage people attacking you. I think this is better than like a lot of Pillow Fort cards. So I guess this is a black Pillow Fort card, but anyway. Trespasser's Curse. Whenever a Trespasser's Curse enters the battlefield, target under enchanted player's control, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Again, it's something, it's not a lot, but yeah, it can. And yeah, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under enchanted player's control. If they're playing like a token deck or something where they're just making mobs, this is like a very much a counter card, right? Polluted Bonds. This is very expensive compared to most of the deck. This is 5. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Again, that just like knocking them down bit by bit, building yourself a little bit up. Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Once again, 5 mana, but with it's doubling the effect of your like life gain damage stuff is like twice as useful then. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. So whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Once again, kind of just like, if you've got these 2 out on the battlefield at the same time, that's a whole lot of like extra effect, right? That's when your like aura, gain life, they lose life thing really starts to stack up. If you're like multiplying it by 3, it gets a little bit rough. Protection. Ghostly Prison. Creatures can't attack you unless the controller plays 2. I think, yeah. Again, this is alright. This isn't great. I think people overvalue this one. But anyway. Radiant Restraints. Again, this is the other side of a card. Creatures enchanted player controls enter the battlefield tapped. This doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. Especially if they've got like a bunch of haste or something. Haste is turned off, right? You'd be surprised how effective that is, I think. Benevolent Blessing. When it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Enchanted creature has protection from that chosen color, and that doesn't remove auras or equipment you control that are already attached to it. That is like almost a win-con card, right? If you can get a decently built-up creature, even throwing your enchantments on it, put this on it, and then make it unblockable to whatever the other player has, and then just really do some damage. Shielded by Faith gives indestructible, and you can attach it to each creature as they enter the battlefield. And it does not specify creature you control, just creature. So you can put this on anything that comes into the battlefield. Your opponents play a big threat. You attach this to it, make that threat indestructible, and can't attack you. Sphere of Safety. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless the controller pays X, where X is the number of enchantments you control. This is like a much better Ghostly Prison in this deck, right? if you've got a lot of enchantments, this is way, way better than Ghostly Prison. This can cost them a whole boatload of mana just to attack you with one creature. Functionality. Evil Presence. So Enchanted Land is a swamp. This is really more about like being able to get the enchantment out and keep it safe than it is doing anything else. This is just about getting auras down. It says Enchant Land. This is an older card. It is an aura. Phyrexian Arena. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Again, every turn you are gaining life, and they're automatically losing life. So losing 1 life and drawing a card, more worth it than it is in regular decks. Lord Skitter's Blessing, kind of like a cheap version of Phyrexian Arena. As long as you control an enchantment, it does the same. Another enchantment, it does the same thing, or an aura. Sorry. Oh right, if you control an enchanted creature, so you need an aura on a creature you control. Sorry, yeah. Arcane Lighthouse. Being able to turn off your opponent's hexproof, and Shroud is very, very important, obviously. And Sigarda's Aid gives your equipment and aura flash. Auras with flash in this deck, like, oh boy, oh boy. The plan. So how does this deck play? Step 1, mana base, always, I feel. Step 2, auras, life gain engine setup. And step 3 is your win con. So mana base, we got Soul Ring. The mana base on this, it is an Orzhov. There's like not a whole lot of fancy tricks, I guess, for mana. Not the strength of Orzhov in general. Talisman of Hierarchy and Godless Shrine, I think, is probably the first interesting one. As it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters tapped. So that's nice. You can have, you know, whatever mana you want for 2 life. And Sajiri Glacier, it does give you the option. That's nice of having like a spell or a land. It enters tapped, which isn't great, but yeah, having that just ability to choose is very, very, very useful. Killian Ink Duelist. Okay, obviously not a land. This goes to mana base because spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. Target a creature. I read this the first time totally wrong, and I was like, oh, creature you control, and it has to be like an instant or something. Nope. Any spell just targets a creature, any creature. Targeted removal, auras, like any kind of instant sorceries that target one thing, reduced by 2. In this deck, it's just like so many all about auras on creatures, and like the value you can get out of this is just insane. Aura life gain. Okay, so we got Vampiric Link. So whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. Again, you can use this on any creature you want, right? If your opponents have some kind of unblockable creature, put it on that. Hi, what you doing? Okay. And basically the same thing except on white, so a lot more life gain. Kaya's Ghost Form. So yeah, this one is good, but remember it just has to be cast on one of your enchanted creature or planeswalker you control, right? You have to control it, and when it dies, put it into exile and return it to the battlefield under your control. Oh, sorry. When it dies or is put into exile, return it to the battlefield under your control. So this is amazing because like even exile doesn't work against this. This can like ignore exile basically. Petrify, again, basically can't attack or block. And Sage's Reverie. So when it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each aura you control attached to a creature. So that's a lot of card draw in this deck. And enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. So you're gonna make your opponent's stuff something your opponents have really big, and just like it doesn't really matter if they can't attack you. Remember, that's the main thing. And yeah, my son's back out here. Thank you. Yeah, Mason. Okay, Mason, sweetie, please, Mason, sweetie. All right. And okay, he's just saying hello. Anyway, win con number 1, we've got something like Vow of Duty, where it gets +2. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has vigilance and can't attack you or a planeswalker you control. Vow of Malice, +2/+2, can't attack you and intimidate. So basically, kind of win con 1 is to actually like buff up your opponent's stuff and get them to finish off your other opponents, right? So you're kind of making yourself not possible as like an attack target is kind of your first go-to here. It may feel a little clunky, but I think in reality it would be a lot of fun anyway. Sweetie, please. And then we have our Spirit Link, again, or Vampiric Link, Sanguine Bond, and Veto of the Dusk Rose. Once again, you can just put this on any creature, especially if you have Sigarda's Aid. You can do it with Flash. So if you see their attack is going through, it's going to do a whole bunch of damage. Throw this down. If Sanguine Bond and Veto are out, then you're going to be doing double damage, and the player that's actually getting hit is taking triple damage. So that's a lot. And you're gaining life. Sweetie, yeah, okay. Okay, sweetie, please stop. That's very nice, thank you. Alright, enchant. He doesn't get sarcasm. Anyway, enchanted creature gets +1 ethereal armor. So giving an enchanted creature +1/+1 and first strike, you can really kind of tilt the battle there. And giving your opponents those like bonuses that are huge with things like All That Glitters. Again, these both give +1/+1 based on the number of auras you control attached to creatures. So you can make your opponent's stuff very, very big, or your own thing very, very big, right? It's flexible like that. Suggestions. Here I am looking for upgrade cards that serve the same general purpose and fall under what I consider to be budget, which is $2 or less on the TCG market player value. Not a sponsor. No. Or at least a reduction in cost. Okay. Okay. We're going to look at a squirrel now. Mason, can you show the squirrel if you want to show the squirrel?
Yes, sir.
Oh, here you go. Okay. He got a squirrel from McDonald's. There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this duck was built by the same person that made the Tiamat deck from the first episode. Sweetie, please don't.
What's this?
There are no extra or useless cards in the deck, so the suggestions are more of a judgment call. I feel like it's very difficult to like make suggestions for changes to decks that are very carefully built. Buddy, could you stop? Okay, I'm gonna pause here. Yeah, the dog. Yeah. Okay, now I am supposed to show you a dog that he also got from McDonald's. So there's the dog, okay, Mason? There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Alright, so, yeah. Replaceable cards. Again, I would say this is very much a judgment call, so take it maybe with a grain of salt here. Okay. My son apparently has a recorder, like the instrument, I mean, which I've never seen before, but he pulled it out and started playing it, and yeah, I had to cut the video there. So hopefully that hasn't bothered anyone too much. Anyway, Hilliard's Pilgrim, Honored Heirloom. Arcane Signet, Scavenger Grounds, and Well of Lost Dreams are what I look at as the replaceable cards. So Heliod's Pilgrim, this is good, but it starts as one enchantment one time, right? When it enters the battlefield, I guess if you flicker it, it could be more useful, but yeah. I would change with Light Pause. So whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less or equal to that, and put it onto him. So you're kind of stacking them on him, which can be a win con, first of all, so that might be useful. But what I would look more to do is like get more ways to like move enchantments, right? Move the enchantment off of him onto someone else. Honored Heirloom, I would change with Kambal. Not really the same thing, but whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Kind of focusing more on, that life gain, life loss mechanic. Arcane Signet, people love Arcane Signet. It is only 2 mana, and you can make 1 colorless, 1 mana of any color, not 1 colorless. So it's very good. I would rather pay 3 and get like other effects out. Okay, here we've got Orzhov Signet. I think really it's slightly better just because you can take 1 colorless mana and make it into 2 different colored mana. And it's the 2 colors of mana you need for this deck, right? You do need a mana to put in to get the extra mana out. That's kind of the downside there. And it is the set mana, but being able to convert colorless mana into 2 colored mana is very, very good. Anyway, Scavenger Grounds. You can add a colorless or pay 2 and tap it to destroy a desert. This is the only desert, so it would have to destroy itself. Exile all graveyards, so this does work on all graveyards. Once again, a very good thing. I would still change it with Bojuka Bog, so when it enters the battlefield, you exile 1 graveyard only. So yeah, but you can tap it for a black instead of a colorless, and you don't have to sack it to be able to use the ability. It's an ETB, not a sack. I think if you had a lot of deserts, I think maybe Scavenger Grounds is better. If you don't, Bojuka Bog is better, I think. Even though it only affects 1 graveyard, still having that, even tapping for black rather than colorless, much, much better. Well of Lost Dreams, I actually really like this card. So whenever you gain life, you pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained if you draw X cards. So this is a lot of card draw. You do need the mana for it though. I would change it with Arden. Not at all really the same function, but let's take a look. So at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. Again, at the beginning of combat, at the beginning of combat on your turn, is your turn. I was supposed to say it wasn't. I don't know how I got that confused. This is one of my commanders. I should know that. But anyway, yeah. Every time you have combat, you basically get to choose another creature that you're going to like move something off of, or a whole bunch of things off of, and put it on there. If you've got one of your goaded effects, you can throw it on that creature, force them to attack someone else, and also make them really, really big for that combat. Or for that round or turn, I should say. But I can't use any of the correct. I'm all confused now. My son totally got my brain all messed up. Not hard to do, I guess, but still. Final thought. So this is another deck made with fun in mind. It is supposed to be fun to play this. I have played against this deck, and I thought it was actually... It's not a cheap deck. That's something I always look for in these. So it is able to keep you in the game with life gain, and weaponize it to get the win. So most of the game, I think the early to mid game, though life gain is about keeping you healed up and kind of tilting the other people down, and then it can really it can weaponize it. It can make it like a lot more powerful to get the win all of a sudden. So I think it's a very well balanced deck, and it is built very carefully around the commander's abilities and really makes full use of the commander's abilities. Anyway, hopefully if you're building this, some of these suggestions are useful to you. Alright, take it easy.